So this morning, as we begin our new series on the Old Testament, we're going to start at a very appropriate place to begin, which is at the beginning. We are going to look here in just a second at our passage. We are going to be reading all of Genesis chapter 1, move into Genesis chapter 2, and read the first 3 verses there. And so in doing so, I'm going to ask you to help me today. Because I think it will help us kind of hear the passage and maybe look at it in a little bit of a different light. But what I'm going to do is at the end of the first 6 days, there is a stanza that is repeated. There are multiple stanzas repeated, but there's one in particular. And so I'm going to ask you congregationally if you would read it responsively as we get to that. So what I've done up on the slides is I've broken it off, and you'll see it'll say congregation, and then you'll read it with me. All right, so we've got to pay attention. Are y'all going to help me, or is this going to crash and burn? All right, we're about to find out. So let's read. We're going to read chapter 1, the entire chapter together. It is a passage that most of us probably know pretty well, and hopefully you will pick up on the pattern here pretty quickly. Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness covered the surface of the watery depths, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good, and God separated light from darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. Very good. 1 down. 5 to go. Then God said, "Let there be an expanse between the waters, separating water from water." So God made the expanse and separated the water under the expanse from the water above the expanse, and it was so. God called the expanse sky. Oh, that was much stronger. That was very good, y'all. Then God said, "Let the water under the sky be gathered into one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. God called the dry land earth, and he gathered the water he called seas. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let the earth produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants, and fruit trees on the earth, bearing fruit with seed in it according to their kinds." And it was so. The earth produced vegetation, seed-bearing plants according to their kinds, and trees bearing fruit with seed in it according to their kinds. God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the sky to separate the day from the night. They will serve as signs for seasons and for days and years, and there will be lights in the expanse of the sky to provide light on the earth." And it was so. God made 2 great lights, the greater light to rule over the day and the lesser light to rule over the night, as well as the stars. God placed them in the expanse of the sky to provide light on the earth, to rule the day, and at night to separate light from darkness. God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let the water swarm the living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the expanse of the sky." So God created the large sea creatures and every living creature that moves and swarms in the water according to their kinds. He also created every winged creature according to its kind, and God saw that it was good. God blessed them. "Be fruitful and multiply, fill the waters of the seas, and let the birds multiply on the earth." Then God said, "Let the earth produce living creatures according to their kinds, livestock, creatures that crawl, and wildlife of the earth according to their kinds." And it was so. So God made the wildlife of the earth according to their kinds, the livestock according to their kinds, and the creatures that crawl on the ground according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let us make man in our image according to our likeness. They will rule the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, the livestock, the whole earth, and the creatures that crawl on the earth." So God created man in his own image. He created him in the image of God. He created them male and female. God blessed them. God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it, rule the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, and every creature that crawls on the earth." God also said, "Look, I have given you every seed-bearing plant on the surface of the entire earth, and every tree whose fruit contains this seed, this food. This will be food for you, for all the wildlife of the earth, for every bird of the sky, every creature that crawls on the earth, everything having breath, the breath of life in it. I have given every green plant for food," and it was so. God saw all that he had made, and it was very good indeed. So the heavens and the earth and everything in them were completed on the seventh day. God had completed his work that he had done. And he rested on the seventh day from all his work that he had done. God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy, for on it he rested from all of his work of creation. So this passage is one that we are pretty familiar with. I want to show just kind of a slide that we're going to talk about. We're going to walk through these days together because there's some things that I want you to see in them. But before we kind of walk through and talk about this, there's a statement that I want you to hear and to be reminded of because it's an important statement. That statement is kind of asking the question of, if this is the story of creation, that there's one big thing that we need to get out of the way. And the big thing that we need to get out of the way is found in verse 1, and it's simply that God created. The great Old Testament theologian Walter Brueggemann reminds us of something very simple. 3 words. The Creator creates creation. That's it. As we have gone through the Creed over this summer, we have been reminded in the Nicene Creed, I believe in one God, Father, the Almighty, the maker of heaven and earth. Of all that is seen and unseen, he is the creator. The creator creates creation. The creator creates creation. So let's walk through these days, because I want to, just for you to kind of see them and for us to walk through them together. And so the beginning, day 1, we have light. Now, there's a question with this, is what is this light? We're going to see that we don't have a sun and a moon yet, so what is this light? And quite frankly, we don't know. Some Hebrew tradition tells us that in the mornings that God puts on his robe, and as he puts on his robe, that is the light of the world. But what we also know is that there is no life when there is no light. There is light apart from that glowing mass of gas in the sky. That there is some other type of light in this world. That there is some type of pre-existent light. I don't understand what that means, but I understand what the passage tells us. There is light. Day 1, there was light created. On day 2, we have the firmament, or what's kind of easier for us to talk about, the skies and the sea. The language here in Hebrew for firmament is the same language they would use for a tin pot. The idea that God just kind of put a cover over the earth. And we've talked about this before. We see it in Psalms, that the ancient people believed that up above the sky that there was water. That's why the sky is blue. And that God kind of made this little bubble, this little cocoon, or in Hebrew, a tin pot, that he put over this earth. The firmament. The sky and the seas that he separated, gave us the sky, gave us seas. But right now, there is nowhere to walk. There's just water. And so what does God do on the 3rd day? Well, God gives us somewhere to walk, dry land. And so he creates dry land. He gives us this dry land, but also in giving us dry land, he also puts vegetation on that land. And he makes sure, I hope you noticed in the passage, the author is not short to tell us there is something important about this vegetation, that it's seed-bearing, that there's seed-bearing vegetation, that there's trees that produce fruit, and what does that fruit have in it? Seeds. That there's a seed-bearing vegetation. And so day 3, there is dry land and there is vegetation put on are put into that dry land. Day 4, we circle back, and now we are down back to lights. So we have the separation of night and day. And we have 2 lights given, one to rule the day and one to rule the night. What do we call these? The sun and the moon. These are not trick questions, the sun and the moon. Here's the trick question, though. This, I will tell you if it's a trick question. Here it is. Where in this passage does it tell us the sun and the moon? It doesn't. It doesn't tell us the sun and the moon. Why is that? If you want my honest answer, we don't know. But we have a really, really good guess. We believe that part of the reason that the Hebrew scriptures here do not include the label, the sun and the moon, is that they are making a statement to the rest of the world. There is only one to be worshiped. The great temptation of the ancient world is that the thing to worship is the thing that gives you life, that big ball of gas in the sun or in the sky, or that thing that shows up on those dark nights from the stars to the moon. Those are the things that are to be worshiped. And part of the Hebrew scriptures, we believe, is they said to us, we're not even going to name those things because those things do not value our worship, or they are not worth worshiping. And so the Hebrew scriptures do not give us the name of the sun and the moon because it wants to remind us it is not something to be worshiped. It's creation. Why? Because the Creator creates creation. It's not something to be worshiped. Only the Creator is to be worshiped. So then we move to day 5. We have birds and we have fish. And so birds and fish are created. Not much to say here. We all know what birds are. We all know what fish are. They were created. Well, I guess here's my question. Every winged being, I don't know if those are winged insects or if insects come later on. I don't know. That's one of those questions for God later on. So we have birds and fish. Then on day 6, we have living creatures. And so living creatures are created. Livestock, insects, winged or not, I'm not sure. But we have things that crawl on the ground. We have livestock differentiated from wildlife. And then we have the creation of Adam, or in Hebrew, Adam, man, humanity. Humans are created. This is the story. And it's the story that most of us have grown up with. It's a story that we are comfortable with. But today I want to retell the story in a little bit different light. I want you to see some different things about the story. And so before we start the story again, we kind of have to go back to the beginning. Genesis chapter 1, verses 1 and 2. I want you to look at these again. It says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Why? Because the Creator creates creation. God creates the heavens and the earth. Verse 2, now the earth was, and here are our 2 words, formless and empty. Formless and empty. Darkness covered the surface of the watery depths, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. The Spirit of God, the Ruach in Hebrew, we translate this spirit. Some of your Bibles might have translated it as wind. It's the same word in Hebrew. I think the better translation here, though, is spirit. This is the Spirit of God. Hovering over the waters, the hovering term used here is really more of a term of what we would call brooding. That in this language, it wasn't just a hovering over the waters, but like a bird would hover over its eggs, waiting for the eggs to be hatched. That the Spirit of God, the same Spirit of God, in a few weeks we're going to be in Ezekiel chapter 37, and we're going to talk about the valley of dry bones. The same God that is breathed into the bones and given life. The same Spirit, or the same wind, the same breath that is breathed into chapter 2 into humanity to give us life. This is the same Spirit of God. Hovering over the waters, waiting for the creation of life. But these 2 words, formless and void. In Hebrew, we have these 2 words, tohu and bohu. All right, everybody, we want to practice saying that together? No, some of you don't. I think we should. Tohu, everybody? Tohu, bohu. All right, tohu simply means formless. It's where we use the term chaotic. Last week I mentioned that in my sermon, that chaos and water are tied together in our Bibles. Chaos is the place where God is not present. The tohu, it is formless. It is without any type of structure. So we are told at the very beginning of creation that creation, the world, was formless. It was tohu, but it wasn't just formless, it was also bohu. You want to see how many times I can say that in this sermon? It's also bohu, meaning it is void, it is empty, it is without life. So let's walk back through creation. Part of what I want you to see is that in creation we understand something about who God is. It tells us something about the story of God. We can learn something about who God is. What does God do with the tohu and the bohu? What does God do with the formless and chaotic parts of this world? But I think as the people of God, we ask the question of what does God do with the formless, the void parts of our lives? The places where we don't feel God's presence, the places where we don't have a structure, what does God do with that? What does God do with the places of your life that are empty? Does God speak to those places? Does God speak to the emptiness of life? The story of creation, or the song of creation, sings of how the Creator brings out formlessness. Let's start that over. The song of creation sings of how the Creator brings form out of formlessness and fullness out of emptiness. So we can start off this story, and we kind of know the story. We've just walked through it. We have 6 days. These 6 days, we can walk through them of what exactly happened on those 6 days. But today what I want to do is I want to walk through those 6 days in a different way with you. Let's talk about tohu and bohu, because they're an important understanding of how we understand this story. So let's walk through. We'll start off with tohu. So let's talk about formlessness. So we're going to make a little change here on our slide. So we see from day 1 to day 3, there is a movement of formlessness to form. What do I mean by that? So day 1, what happened on day 1? We separated, or God separated, the light from the darkness. Without light, there is no form. There is no life. God separates the light from the darkness. What does God do on day 2? Remember the tin pot, that God separates the sky and the sea. What was just waters of chaos, what was just waters of tohu, now have somewhere for us to walk. He separates. Doesn't have somewhere for us. Now has I went one too far. Now has a sky, now has a sea. But then day 3, we need somewhere to walk. So on day 3, he brings form to that chaos, form to that sea, and brings dry land. And on that dry land, he brings life. And the life that he brings is a life that is different, but a life that is seed-bearing, a life that can give life. Those plants can produce and can reproduce. There are seeds that can be planted in the ground. Those seeds are there by design because the Creator creates creation. God is continually creating. God even created creation to continually create. So now we have, moving from day 1 to day 3, we have what was formless now has form. What was chaotic now has structure. But there's something missing, isn't there? We have structure, we have form, but it's still empty. It's still without life, being life that breathes in oxygen and breathes out carbon dioxide, life that fills lungs. So what if the Creator was to take something that is empty and to fill it, what would he fill it with? Well, he would fill it with life. So what does he do on day 4? On day 4, we look up to a sky, and that sky is void. It's empty. There are no stars. There is no moon. There is no sun. So what does God do into the emptiness, the voidness? God creates. God puts a star here, the moon here, the sun there. And God takes what is void and what is empty on day 4 and begins to fill it in. Then we get to day 5. So what happens on day 5? Well, day 5, God looks at the God looks at the seas and God looks at the sky, and they're beautiful, aren't they? We have stars now, we have a sun, we have a moon, but there is nothing in the oceans. There's nothing in the sea. There's nothing in the sky. They are void. They are empty. And what does God do? He brings life. He puts birds. He puts fish. He puts whales. He puts sharks. He puts all of these things into the waters, puts all of these things into the sky, and God takes what is empty, God takes what is void, and begins to fill it out. Day 6, what happens? Day 6, we have filled the sky, we have filled the water, but guess what we have not filled? The land. We have plants, we have trees, we have fruit, we have okra, because we all know God created okra. On day 3, the most important of all the things God ever created was okra. It is the height of creation. I'm a little biased. But we have plants. But we don't have anything that breathes. And so God takes what is void, what is empty, the land, and what does God do? He fills the land. He fills the land with livestock. He fills the land with wildlife. He fills the land with the things that crawl. He fills the land ultimately with us. The thing that can have a relationship with him. The story of creation is the story of tohu and bohu. It's the story of formlessness. It's the story of what is void. It is the story of what is empty, and the story of a good creator who creates creation, filling those things, bringing order and bringing life. To pull all of this together, what we see is that we see that the creator creates, what the creator creates is good. It's good. We even get to the very end where God says, this is good, this is good, this is good. And we get to the end of day 6, and what does God say? He saw that it wasn't just good, it was very good. Because God had moved into the tohu and the bohu and had brought in life. The Creator creates goodness. Our Creator desires to move all of his creation from formlessness to fullness, and from emptiness to fullness. He desires to bring into the empty parts of our lives his fullness, into the formless parts of our lives to bring form, to bring order. That is who our God is. And the God who creates is bringing order out of the mess and fullness out of the emptiness. One of the things that we don't catch all the time in this story, and I hope some of you caught it this morning because I tried to design it in such a way that you would catch it, but I had you read some things. There was an evening, there was a morning one day. Evening came and then morning the second day. Evening came, then morning the third day. Evening came and the morning the fourth day. Evening came and then morning the fifth day. Evening came and then morning the sixth day. And then what happened? So the heavens and the earth and everything in them were completed. On the seventh day, God had completed his work. He was done. And then we stopped, didn't we? There is no evening and morning of the seventh day. to rest. I think part of what the story of creation tells us about who we are as people is that we are people who were created for a relationship. But every one of us, we're also human beings. We live in a world that tells us you are not a human being, you are a human doing. It's about what you can get done. And creation tells us, no, it's not about what you can get done. It's about who you are. It's about speaking life into the places of our lives that are empty and are chaotic. This morning, maybe today you feel like your life is formless. Maybe you feel like your life is chaotic. Maybe you even feel like your life is empty. The good news of Genesis chapter 1 is that the Creator creates creation. That we believe in a God who hasn't given up. That we believe in a God who is still creating. The God who spoke light into darkness is the same God who can bring order and mess and fullness into your emptiness. The God who takes what is broken is the God who makes it whole. The God who takes what is empty, he fills it with life. So we come. We come to church and we bring our chaos. We come to church and we bring our emptiness. We come and we bring our hearts. Some of us were broken. Some of us, we are empty. Some of us, our lives are complete and utter chaos. Tohu, bohu. We're empty. And we come into church to hear a word of creation that the same God that is hovering over the waters is the same God that is hovering over your life, over your tohu, over your chaos, over your emptiness. The same God who is hovering and saying, I want to breathe life into your brokenness, into your chaos, into your emptiness. Today my prayer is that we serve a Creator who makes all things new. A Creator who wants to come into our lives, into those places that are difficult, into those places where we feel empty, and bring life into those places. Today, as we close, that's simply my question. Are we willing to bring our emptiness? Are we willing to bring our brokenness and to bring it to a God, a Creator who creates creation? A Creator who comes into those things and says, I want to fill your life. Are we empty? Are we void of life? Some of us, we are. And today is a great time for us to come and just find a place and say, Lord, come and speak into my emptiness. Come and speak into my life. Come and bring new life into me in a way that I don't understand. In a way that I never thought was possible. In a way that I could have never guessed. Lord, I am broken. I am empty. I am void. I am filled with chaos. Bring your life into me. Today, as John comes, we're going to sing, and that's the invitation. We serve a God who takes what is broken and makes it whole. We serve a God who takes what is empty and fills it with life. Today, my prayer is that we can come together as God's people and allow him to fill our lives. Today, we're going to close as we normally close. If you would like to pray with the pastor, Pastor James will be right down at this altar. If you would like to be anointed for healing, I will be right down at this altar. But I know there might be a few of us that just need to say, Lord, I'm empty. My life is a mess right now. Tohu and bohu. Bring your Spirit into my life. Bring form, bring order, bring your life into my brokenness. And we just need a place to pray. Say, Lord, come and speak to me. Let us stand today as we sing. If you want to come and find a place to just say, Lord, here it is, I invite you to come.